Welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Thanks for joining us here on the Coffee Ann program here on ON, AM, and FM. It is Wednesday morning. It's April 12th. No one can hear you yet, Dave. So they still can't hear you. They still cannot hear you. I have not turned your microphone on. It's a different type of Wednesday Coffee Ann program. I know, I'm still talking. There's a different type of Coffee Ann program for today because the usual characters are not here for various reasons. But we have the backup crews right here. So with us, let's say hi to Melissa Smith. Hi, Melissa.
Murray.
Right. Melissa Smith is usually here on a Wednesday.
That's right.
We're going to start
but
over.
Good morning,
Melissa
everybody.
Murray is here. Hi, Melissa.
You realize that's going to be a problem for you for a long time to come, right?
All right, Dave is here. Hi, Dave Richards.
I am.
You're right over there.
What am I doing here?
I don't know.
Okay.
And we're being joined for the branch manager of the Park Square branch.
The
of
only
Navigate Credit Union.
representative that was meant to be here.
From Navigate Credit Union, Christian Velasquez.
Move into the same time zone with that mic there,
Yes.
Christian.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Nice to have you here with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, and a little later on, we're going to be joined by Gary Lawrence, former publisher.
Yes,
from the
before
Call
everybody
newspaper.
says who. Wait a minute. Didn't
Who?
I remember
Yeah.
that guy? Oh, yes, right. Former publisher of The Call.
Now, Melissa asked me yesterday, any relation to Stella Lawrence? Current reporter.
No,
at
Stella
the-
comes from Los Angeles.
Okay, then. There you go. There's your answer,
right.
Melissa.
And they spell their names differently.
That's right. She spells it with an O, doesn't
Yes.
she? It's L-O-R.
Yeah. And Gary is the traditional spelling
of
we're familiar
Lawrence.
with here,
All right.
as in Massachusetts.
The fine city up there in Mass.
Yes.
All right, just other things that are going on in the news that we just want to bring up, and we Dave and I talked about it earlier today. It's brush fire season, and
Yes.
it's serious, and we're not kidding around.
And
this time, and it happened in North Smithfield. A brush fire kept going and going, caught a house on fire,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and luckily, we're very happy. No one was home at the time. There were no animals.
Can you
involved
imagine the
either.
memory of being in your home and watching this thing coming at you?
It's coming at you.
Who wants you?
Yeah.
Who wants that memory?
I mean, maybe you can get out there
it's
with a
bad
garden
enough coming
hose.
home and finding out that it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not like being in your house terrified, seeing
And I
it
think
coming
it was
at
a
you.
3-alarm fire. So I get the fire alerts on my phone too
Mm-hmm.
from all across the state, and that my phone was just pinging.
Was it?
Yes,
Constantly?
there was a fire in Woonsocket. There was a fire in North Smithfield. There was
Yeah.
a fire in Providence. It
Mm-hmm.
was just like those conditions.
So the one in North Smithfield was around 3 yesterday afternoon. It was a single-family home on Providence Pike. Does anyone know, was the home completely destroyed, or were they able to save any of it? I don't know.
It
don't
was a
know.
partial save the way I heard it, but I didn't see.
Okay. So it comes down to how do these things start? Are they just discarding cigarettes?
Oh, it could be
or
anything,
whatever?
Joe.
Yeah.
It could be a piece of glass on the side of the road.
sun hits
where the
just right.
sun hits it, and it does the little magnifying glass thing and
sparks.
lights something up. It could be something as innocuous and seemingly unpreventable as that. And of course, if people didn't litter, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But it could be a cigarette butt thrown out the window. It could be a spark from a lawnmower engine.
It's so dry right
Yeah.
now. Usually we have April showers. We have not really had any
15%
rain.
relative humidity is lower than you'd ever have it in your house.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very, very dry, and it's very windy. The worst conditions for
Yeah,
fire.
that's what picks up
Mm-hmm.
the fire. Where was the fire in Providence yesterday? Did you?
Oh,
when
I'd have
it
to look in
pinged?
my phone. I
Okay.
don't remember the actual
okay.
street.
Well, you mentioned one in Woonsocket. Where was that?
It was in East Woonsocket.
East Woonsocket, yeah. Where the trees are.
Yeah, all right. This segment of the Coffee Ann program is sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities. They're in North Smithfield. Please check them out online and get a hold of Melissa. She'll give you
And
a
find
tour.
and
Melissa
find out
Smith.
all about
Melissa
the
Smith, not me. I can't give you a tour.
find out all about the continuum of care.
All right. So
Now let's just talk about that for a minute there, Joe,
continuum
since we
of
have
care?
a moment. Yes, the continuum of care.
All right.
Now, what does that mean? Well, it's big words, and you say to yourself, "Oh, are they just being fancy?" No, actually, that is a legitimate expression of what happens up there on the hill in North Smithfield. First of all, adult assisted living. Now, if you are in a position where you are in the home and you're living alone and you're just not feeling as safe as you could, Family members can't respond very quickly. It could be something as simple as forgetting when you took your meds or if you took your meds and things like that. It could be falling and not having anyone to help you along, or perhaps you just don't want to be cooking all your meals now. This is the place to go, assisted living. And we've done some checking into this, and generally speaking, it costs you no more in assisted living than it does to maintain a house. I mean, because there's a lot of expenses in maintaining a house. So this is a great natural step, and it's great that it's available for you. But now what happens if you actually have a medical episode, and now you need a lot more care? You're not living as independently. Because in assisted living, what I just talked about, you can have your car there, you can come and go as you please, it doesn't matter, you know. But there's somebody around 24/7 if there's an issue that can help you. Now, if you have a medical situation, maybe you go to the hospital. Now, of course, since you're a resident at the assisted living, there's the nursing home portion, and it's all one big facility. So you never really change your address, and you're very close by. I mean, they can wheel you back to your apartment when you don't need that intensive care anymore of the nursing facility. That's what they say, continuum of care. I know it's a big Latin word, but it means that your care continues. You come there, and then you can get the additional care, and then you can go back if you don't need it. And that's what we mean at the San Antoine Communities up there in North Smithfield, off Mendon Road or Rhodes Avenue, depending, because they have two separate entrances, but they're very, very close together on the same piece of land.
All right, so thank you,
Does that
Dave.
count for an ad?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Christian, over there at the Navigate Credit Union, they have automatic sprinklers that I've noticed.
Yes,
So the issue of a brush fire starting on your lawn, probably pretty low.
pretty low. Well,
Okay.
I have seen it once happen before.
Where the lawn's caught on fire?
It was the mulch. It was
Okay.
long ago, 10 years ago, actually.
Yeah?
Yep, caught on fire and notified by a member, right? As
There's a fire outside?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
And it was actually, I wasn't doing anything, so I literally came out with water and doused it. But yeah, that has happened.
Was it just the heat getting on the
Yeah.
mulch? Like
The
that just
composting.
caused
It's
it?
composing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
heat and the pressure.
Heat
very
is,
small.
heat is generated
Yeah.
inside during the fermenting process of the
Sure.
organic elements.
All right.
Talk about big words.
You know your stuff, though.
So no need to call the fire department on it, right?
No, not for that.
All right.
I'll be ready. If anything ever happens like that. So
All right. Well, good.
That's how we got the job as branch manager, you know.
How do you
10
put out
years
a
ago.
fire?
Yeah.
If there's a fire, he's Johnny on the spot. Or is that Christian on the spot?
All right. All right. There you go. And he'll be over there. He'll be keeping an eye on the Duncan as well. We don't want a fire over there either.
Well,
No,
there,
of
there
course
actually was a little brush fire at the Dunkin' a few years ago, and I was in
On the Park Ave here?
yes, right
yeah.
next door,
Okay.
and I just pulled up in the drive-through, and there was a fire there. So I happened to have some water, and I put it out.
What a nice lady. What a nice lady. My
I mean,
goodness.
I was just like, how does nobody know that there's a random fire in the drive-through? But it was just a little tiny. It was brush.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So, and your one
I have
little cup of water was able to put it out?
I have various bottles of water in my car at all times.
Various bottles
various
of water.
stages
Took
of
care of it. Okay.
fullness because I drink them and then I forget and then get another one. So
Oh,
Good
I
for
get
you,
it.
Melissa.
I get it. Yeah, that's happened.
did it. And then when
That's
I went
happened
in
before.
through it, I said, I put some water out, but you may want to go out back because you had a fire and just want to make sure that,
I hope
it's
they
really
thanked
out.
you. Oh, thanks.
I think they were just stunned. or maybe they just like
She's
some crazy
kidding.
lady
There's
said
a
no. I
fire.
was like,
Come on,
right,
that's
no.
a
It
fire.
wasn't like a big. It was just a little like it was
Yeah.
starting.
Just starting.
So it
Okay.
must have thrown a cigarette out. That's what I thought. But
That-
All right.
That's what I had thought too. Like years ago when that happened, I was like, someone must have thrown a cigarette or something. When he said something was on fire, I wasn't quite sure of what to make of it until I actually went outside and I was like, "You're right, that is the case."
It's a fire. All right. The fire, by the way, in Providence yesterday was at, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Nukakonkanut.
Nudaconkinut.
Thank you. Park.
Nudaconkinut Park.
That's where the brush fire was yesterday. Was burning up one side of a hill.
That's closer to Johnston, because
Is it?
actually Nudaconkinut Hill is actually in Johnston.
Is it? Okay.
yeah.
And the cause of that fire is not immediately known.
It is
but,
the tallest. It is the tallest hill in Johnston, and that's why that's where transmitters for 104, 105.1,
That's where they put 'em all.
93.3. Yeah, a couple of translators. They're all up there. And actually, Channel 36 broadcast from there before the digital conversion.
All right. Here in Woonsocket, on Sunday, high-speed chase in the city. Little excitement.
A lot of excitement, actually.
Yes.
This young man wasn't thinking at all. 23-year-old, what was his last name now?
Jordan Fontaine, of,
right.
Chestnut Street here in the
Right.
city.
And the way that we got the story was this young man, obviously not happy after a breakup with his girlfriend. She got a restraining order. He
Yeah,
kept
no
following her
contact order.
around and violating the no contact order. On Sunday, he was allegedly, according to the young lady with this restraining order, following her as she drove in her car. She got on the cell phone, contacted the police.
I'm being followed by an ex-boyfriend.
Eventually,
How about
right?
that?
Eventually, they found the young man in his car, and he was not interested in speaking to the cops. They boxed him in. He lurched forward, gunned it, almost hit one of the cruisers, but didn't. The police officers, obviously observing this behavior, got out of the car and ordered him to shut it off and exit the vehicle. He refused and continued to lurch toward the officers.
Not a good
Scary.
idea.
As he
Scary
did,
situation.
one of the officers pulled his service revolver, aimed it, and repeated the commands. No shots were fired. These officers exhibited the utmost of restraint in this thing. I'm very, very proud of their work conduct, and because somebody can get very, very hurt that way. But the young Mr. Fontaine again lurched at the vehicle at the officer with the gun drawn. Now, this is somebody who's not in their right mind, not thinking straight. So the officer stepped aside to protect himself, for one thing, and to keep the situation from escalating. And then, of course, Fontaine got by them and started heading off down the street. Well, of course, you had the cops in pursuit, but they could see as it went through the streets of Fairmount that this was dangerous pursuit. And they did not use extraordinary methods to continue the pursuit. They simply used the old adage, you can't outrun the radio. And they got on the radio and put a "Be on the lookout for." Rhode Island State Police trooper heard this, noticed the car on 146, and Mr. Fontaine was apprehended.
Yep, and now he's facing just a whole bunch of charges.
Oh,
Here in
gosh, it was
Woonsocket
like three
and-
paragraphs
and
of charges
and
here.
in
Yeah.
Pawtucket.
Yeah, that
as
was
well.
from before. Pawtucket was
Yes.
from before. They
Yeah.
already had a warrant out for him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's in big trouble.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so he'll be changing addresses, I think,
Down to
pretty
Cranston.
soon. Yeah. And again, I'll just reiterate: when I read a story like that, and I see those reports done in that way, on the one hand, you say, okay, he got away from Woonsocket cops. On the other hand, I say, bravo, Woonsocket cops. Seriously. I mean, you're talking about a car that's lunging at you. You have your gun out, pointed at the windshield,
Very aggressive.
and you use such restraint as to step out of the way
Yeah.
and let the guy get down the street, knowing that eventually we're going to catch this guy.
pick him up later.
And we did. Thank you so much to the Woonsocket cops. Congratulations on their great training and their use of restraint. I feel very, very good about this.
All right. In other news, Steve Casey has filed the official paperwork,
On Monday.
and now he's a candidate.
Yeah,
for the
but he
first
still hasn't had his
congressional seat.
official announcement yet, the
but he filed the
cameras,
papers.
the flashing flash bulbs and stuff like that. He hasn't had that.
But there's someone else in. Melissa.
Yeah, but so he didn't have his official announcement, and now he's eclipsed by this dude from Newport, right?
Marvin Abney.
Yes, Rep. Abney. He's the chair of
he?
House Finance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is
No.
not a bad little chairmanship to have.
That's probably the biggest chairmanship in
Yeah.
in the House.
In-
The
really?
House, yeah, yes,
So he's not from nobody.
right.
He's a
He's
retired.
just not
Ar-
from our area, so we didn't know him.
He's a retired Army major too.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You know what you got to do to become a major in the U.S. Army?
A lot.
That's a major rank, I tell you.
yeah, everyone at the State House knows Chairman Abney.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this expected that he was going to run, or did this come
I had
out of
heard.
left field?
I had heard that he was going to announce this week, and everyone it's
scuttlebutt
all
was.
in now, right? Everyone's all in.
There's a
Is
dozen
that
of them
is that
now.
Everybody
Yeah.
know?
And poor Steve gets his thunder, taken away before he even makes his big announcement.
I've always felt when I ran for office that it's always just best to just be the first one out of the gate.
Not
Yeah.
in the middle.
Yeah, that's why I always go very first day, the morning of. Nobody has to wonder, is she going to run again?
Yeah.
Some people like to leave it till the very last day, leave people guessing.
Well, but that's a strategy too, Melissa. You have to
Yeah.
understand. You have
don't know. Just
you
do
have
it.
You have political advisors many times. You have people, confidants that you talk to who know the mechanics of getting elected and
Yeah.
can give you a perspective from that point of view. That's always good to have
Mm-hmm.
when you're making big decisions like that. And you say to yourself, okay, fine. Well, they want to see who you're up against before they throw your hat in the ring, because nobody wants to lose. Nobody goes in this.
Nobody
to
wants
lose.
to lose. That is true.
Right. Nobody goes into this, saying, okay, let's go in and just have some fun and lose. No, that doesn't ever happen. So you're all trying to figure out a strategy. Who's the Republican guy that ran against David last time?
Alan Waters, and now
Waters,
he's saying
Alan
he's
Waters. Yeah,
Change
so
party
Democrat.
affiliations.
yeah, right. So he's looking at it, he says there's 0 Republicans and there's all these Democrats, and we're hearing of more. So his strategy, it has to be a strategy, was simply that, okay, fine, I'll become a Democrat because whomever the Democrat primary winner is likely to be the winner of the election in November. So why should I go through 2 elections and go up against the strongest that the Democratic Party can come up with when I've got experience in running for the office and I can just slingshot that into because this is Rhode Island. Remember, the majority of voters in Rhode Island are unaffiliated or want to be.
Well, he didn't become a Democrat.
And so-
He's just running as a Democrat.
That's right.
He's
So-
very much not a Democrat from what I can tell. But
So yeah, but you're right about that. But the fact is that the party label, okay, means something to somebody, but it doesn't mean everything to everybody.
that's
And
true.
so if you're going to sacrifice something, then you can sacrifice the party label, because let's face it, if the Republicans were serious about putting someone in this race, they would have done it by now.
Yeah, that's true.
All
That's
right.
true.
And so, can he depend on the Republicans to back him in the race
Well,
against the
definitely
survivor
not now.
of the? Well, not now. You're right about that. But I mean, can he depend on any support? These things obviously will go through a young man's mind when he's making decisions about what he wants to do, and he obviously wants the job because he ran for it once before.
But the question is Christian going to run?
I am not.
No?
Who's
Okay.
not?
I am
Here we
not.
go. We're going to put out a press release. Christian Velasquez is not running.
Well, that's
There you
that.
go.
He's not thinking about running.
He's not thinking
Nope.
about running.
Because people are
Mulling it
putting
over.
out
He's
press
not even
releases.
running.
Right.
That's right.
People putting out press releases that they're thinking about running. So
And
And
that's
test the waters, right?
Yeah, that's
see,
right.
see if there's any bites.
I thought about running, but I didn't put out a press release.
That you
I
were
thought
thinking about it?
That I was thinking about it.
well, everybody thinks about it. You don't want to
Right,
miss an
right.
opportunity if it knocks.
But I am not.
I mean, I thought about it for a whole millisecond,
Right.
realizing I had to
I am
quit
not
my
running.
job and give up my livelihood
Not
if
running.
I did.
Not running. Decide I'm not going to run. But
So for
yeah.
laughs, Christian, go home and tell your wife, hey, I'm thinking about running, and see what her response is.
She will immediately tell me, well, we have a lot of things going on. Are you sure this is the right time to do anything really at this
Of course it's the right time.
It's never the right time.
No.
I will tell you that.
All
It's
right.
never the
It's
right
never
time.
the right time.
We gotta
It's
take a
like
break.
having a baby. Is it ever
And
the
this
perfect
is
time?
Never. All right, we got to take a break here at the Coffee and Program. This segment has been sponsored by the St. Antoine Communities in North Smithfield. Dave, anything else you want to say about the St. Antoine Communities?
Go San Antoine Communities.
All right, we'll see them at the Senior Resource Fair this coming
Saturday
Saturday.
from 9 to noon. They'll be right there, right next to the Navigant table.
That's right. I'll
be there.
The two ladies.
You're going to be
figure-
there?
Figure that out.
I am.
Oh,
We
great.
thought Amanda was going to be there like last year.
Yeah, she is going to be there. I
Oh,
will be there this
really?
He'll be in the other
The
chair.
two of you.
Saturday. The two of us.
All right.
Well,
Yeah.
she's going to want to sit next to Melissa, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
They'll
And
be-
that's okay.
They have
You'll-
this lady thing going on where they really enjoy each other's company.
You'll talk to the people, and they'll talk to each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, more Coffee Hands coming up. Stay tuned.
This is Ed Carew of the Carew Investment Group, 765-8880, with some simple advice about investing. The truth is, there is no simple advice about investing. The old days of financial uptrends and downtrends lasting for days, weeks, and months or longer are gone. Sometimes trends last only part of a day before changing direction. Investing is not an activity for those who cannot take the time to study and see each twist and turn for the opportunity that it truly presents. Since 1987, I've seen them all, and I'll invest your money the same way I invest for myself. Carefully, very carefully. And it won't cost you a nickel to talk about it with me. So call me, Ed Carew, at 765-8880 right here in Woonsocket. Securities offered through Bolton Global Capital, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through Bolton Global Asset Management, a registered investment advisor.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
We are local and live at 99.5.
It is ON Radio. It's Coffee and. Thanks for joining us. This is Joe Callahan here with Christian Velasquez, a branch manager for the Park Square branch of Navigant Credit Union. Dave Richards is here. That's right. And Melissa Murray is here. Oh, by the way, the police officer in that high-speed chase,
Yes.
Shane Murray.
Not related.
Not related at all. Okay.
No.
There was another. There were actually two, but that was one of the names. Was
Well, you
was
know, we
Shane
are
Murray.
prolific because we're Irish, but
I know, it's
maybe we're related way back.
Keep
great
going back and back and
But
back.
not so that you'd
fifth
know.
cousins or something. But no,
Yeah.
we don't know.
Well, that's like I told Christian with Velasquez. He should have played baseball because there's a gazillion
Yes.
Velasquez's that play baseball.
Very close, right? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
By the way,
yes?
Christian, what does it take to become a branch manager of a great credit union like Navigant?
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a loaded question. Really, I mean, it's just the patience, the drive to do so, the understanding, I think, and then obviously the opportunity. I've been with Navigant for 10 years, right? I actually started here at the Park Square the Park Square branch. Floated around a couple of different branches, and then when I saw this open up,
You started as a teller?
I did.
Okay.
I did, part-time teller. And as the opportunities came in different branches, and just kind of worked hard, and here I am.
There you go.
So I can't say it was one definitive thing. I think it's a culmination of so many different
Do you miss
things.
being out in the teller cages?
I mean, I am there occasionally.
Kat told me that she kind of misses being out front with the
Yeah.
tellers.
I think
'Cause
occasionally.
She got a nice promotion inside.
She did.
Yeah.
She's doing a great job. But
Katerina,
no.
by the way.
Yes, Katerina. Which anytime you want to stop by and say hi, take a look at what we have in terms of offers, absolutely. But you'll catch me on the teleline every now and then.
Yeah.
Sometimes out of necessity, and
I have.
sometimes right, yeah. And then sometimes just the community, right? There's so many different businesses and our regulars that come in that I want to make a point to kind of meeting since I've only started there as of October, right? So new branch and just kind of getting used to the community. It's very different from where I was before in Chepachet.
I remember asking Christian when he was first came in. Not a day goes by that someone doesn't say, "I want to speak to the branch manager."
Still happens.
Still happens every day.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Although the
They
difference
say
now
okay.
is, and it could be something simple, it can be something
Or
complicated, right?
complicated,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So you never know. It's always kind of like a mixed bag. But the one thing I'm seeing now, I speak Spanish, right? And we have had a need for that in the branch.
Yeah.
So English technically is my second language. I learned Spanish first, but I have almost all but forgotten it. So it's bringing having to kind of speak in Spanish again, and then not only that, but also like the banking terms. I had to do a little bit of homework on that, just because
I
there is a
bet.
large community that comes in wanting someone who speaks Spanish.
Yep.
Or have children or something like that. 10-year-old trying to translate, and
Oh, that
it
must be
gets
tough.
lost in
Oh, I
translation.
bet.
So yeah. But so every day now it's the same thing, but in Spanish. So
Okay.
it keeps it new, it keeps it interesting for sure.
It's great that you're able to offer that. I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, and I think the word of mouth is also kind of getting around because now it's friends and family that might have had these questions that they weren't sure who to ask, or an unbiased opinion of like whatever they're going mortgage or something like that. Well, I can give my opinion and they'll be able to understand it. So we've been getting a lot of inquiries recently. When I first spoke with you, and it was November, I'm not sure. Didn't happen, and then now it seems like every day.
Good.
Every day that happens. So.
And folks, you can meet Christian in person this Saturday from 9 to 12 at the Elks Hall on 380 Social Street in Woonsocket at our resource fair. He'll be right there next to the flamboyantly dressed Amanda LaRose.
Do you tell people when it's a simple request, you just say, okay, well, the teller can really take care of this for you?
No.
No?
I usually
That's
just say
not how it works.
No,
there.
No, just checking.
Well, it depends, right? Because it's
Yeah.
the most important thing to them, right? So
Well, of
if
course
that
it
is the
is.
case,
Sure.
depending on what it really is, no, I'm more than happy to help, right?
Okay.
A lot of things that I have to do throughout the day, I'm sure I can move it up, 15, 20 minutes or so and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of help out if someone is really in that kind of need for attention. So, I don't know.
Do you have to give, basically, I'm going to call it this, ATM lessons?
Absolutely.
Because I just saw this at a branch recently where I was waiting to use the ATM, and there was this gentleman who was either helping his mother or his mother-in-law. I couldn't figure out which it was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think they were just trying to get like $20 out of the account. Okay, so
Yeah.
hit this button next, and hit this button next.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and not wait.
Yeah, yeah.
it's thinking.
Yeah.
And now here, and and it's all new to them, of
Right.
course. So
Right.
you do give. Let's go work
Yeah.
at the ATM, and this is how it works.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that, whether it's online banking, right, because that's something that people might be wary about, right? And as well as, had an older gentleman, first time he's ever used a debit card was yesterday, literally. And he just was not sure
How
what
it worked?
anything. Yeah. And so we go out, obviously, and just do a quick balance inquiry, withdraw $20 just to get used to it. And it's world changing to them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just because when, and speaking with my mom, when she was like, yeah, when debit cards first came out, it was revolutionary. But it was also extremely scary, right? Just because, well, what if I lose it? Or, what happens? It's always like
When the money's
convenience.
gone from a debit card, it's gone.
Right, right. And she was just really shocked to see, like, that's how convenient it is now. So,
That's right. The whole point of I can come here 24 hours a day and just get money.
that's right.
That's
yeah.
right.
Or pay
It's-
for something online, right? And how scary that could be.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I like is I don't like to use credit cards when not necessary because of the obviously the charges, the
Interest rate.
interest rates and stuff like that. Now it's all sometimes it's warranted and you go for it, but at the same time, what you have is you have a choice now.
Yeah.
You could use a credit or you can use the debit, and they're treated the same way by vendors. That's really nice.
And one thing I love about Navigant, I have all my accounts at Navigant because I
Dude.
just absolutely love them.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But if you lose your card, I may have lost my card once or twice. You can go into the Navigant branch and they will just print one for you. They'll cancel your old one right away.
Here's
Right.
a new card. Huh?
And only once did I ever not find it like somewhere in my house. But I never, the one time I didn't, it probably
Cut them
yeah.
up. Cut them up. Cut them up. Cut 'em
I
up.
know, right? No.
Yeah.
But they cancel it and then they print you a new one, and then you just have to remember for all of your automated
Auto-pays and
stuff,
such.
auto pays to
Oh, yeah,
switch
change.
everything over. But it's just like, all right, you go in there, they do it, it's done in
And
hand,
your
and sign
pin,
it
your pin stays the same.
if you want it to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you want, you're right.
Yep.
You can change your pin anytime.
Yep.
And,
Well, right.
Yeah,
And I do everything
they make
online.
it so you can.
I do everything online, remote direct deposit, life changing.
Well, that's the idea, right? Because now, if you had to wait 7 to 10 business days for it to arrive, right? That's like 2 weeks without a debit card. That could be, and if you don't have a credit card, right?
Right, and I've had that happen to me when I
Yeah.
had some. I was fostering some puppies, and I
Mm.
had a cat also. I put my debit card for some reason on the kitchen counter. Cat swipes it off, of course. Puppies chewed up my card, so I order a new card. This was not when I was with Navigant. This
I
was
hate
way
when
before.
the puppies chew up.
So then I had to write a check for something, and what did I do? I left my checkbook on the counter. Same thing. I
Swiped
couldn't
it
get
off
my
and the
money.
puppies
No.
Chewed it up.
chewed your
I
check.
could not
checkbook?
get my money for like 5 to 7
Have you ever
days.
considered some people are just not cut out to have pets?
These were two really naughty puppies. They were kind of like took over my whole house and made everything a mess. So, but they got great homes.
They're no longer
separately-
there. They're no longer
separately.
there.
They're no longer there.
Oh, okay.
No, this was many moons
Progress
ago.
is being made.
This was many moons ago when you had to wait that long time to get a replacement.
You must have heard about this in your banking career, Christian. It's mostly from kids who have all grown up with ATMs, and they'll because this happened to my family with one of my brothers. Just him and his wife talking about, gee, we need more money for something, and the nephew comes along and say, well, you just go to the machine and it just gives you it. money.
Oh, yeah.
You just go there.
Yep.
Not realizing it's your money that you're taking out. It's just
Yikes.
free money, everybody.
Some of that youngster's education needs to be filled
Well,
in.
They were like 6, so it made
Oh,
perfect
okay.
sense at the time.
And that is why financial literacy is important.
Right.
Absolutely. And that is one thing that
And Navigant does that.
Yep, Amanda, right? Who's now in community development. Just a phenomenal job with it, whether it's credit and budgeting, how to even write a check for the first time. Because
Yeah.
I'll be honest, some of the times where I ask some, some younger generation to sign something, they don't even know how to sign, right? So it's not really taught in schools as much as it used to be. To how to use a debit card, and I think that's the part where I kind of see it the most. It's not like the older generation that I have to kind of go and say, oh, this is how you use your debit card and such. It's the younger generation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they have no idea or concept. They've never been to an ATM before, and if the parent or guardian hasn't gone through that, then it's like, well, no, let's go out into the lobby, let's figure it out, right? Same thing with online banking. It might have been the first time they ever seen a screen like that. So it's actually pretty fulfilling when you see that, because it's like, all right, you got it, you understood it, because sometimes it's not always the same, right? That initial process. So for them to feel, and then for them to light up, because now they have like online banking, have their debit card,
Check
they're so
your balance.
cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. Just
the other
download
thing-
the app.
The other thing,
Right.
Everything old is new again. Just put an X on the paper, kid.
Yeah.
the other thing they must have
Oh my
questions
goodness,
about, Christian, is you can deposit your check through your phone.
Yes.
You just snap a picture of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That must just freak some people out. How does this work?
Well, the big question is, well, what do you do with the check after, right?
Afterwards,
Because you
yeah.
have to, give it to, a teller or something like that. They hold on to the check, right? So when you're able to take a picture of the front and back, has to be specially endorsed. But as long as it's accepted, everything looks legible, it's deposited into an account that you choose. And then you just kind of hold on to the check as a receipt, as like proof.
Keep it for a while.
Yeah, and then you can go ahead and shred it. But that is one concept that not a lot of people do it, or they choose not to just because it's so foreign to keep that check after you
Sure.
kind of redeem the value.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee and Program. It's time for a look at the weather forecast, which is being brought to you by Dave.
By the folks at Compassion International, Joe. Families in poverty are facing a global food crisis. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646. The National Weather Service has once again issued a red flag warning for outdoor fire danger through the daylight hours today. Partly sunny skies today with a high of 74. Tonight, partly cloudy, overnight low of 49, calm wind. Thursday's weather, sunshine and 84 degrees. Friday, mostly sunny and 82. Friday, mostly cloudy and 72. Sunday, a 30% chance of a shower, mostly cloudy and 65. Monday, 50% chance of showers, partly sunny and 62. And on Tuesday, back to a 30% chance of a shower, partly sunny and 62. Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal real special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogi with onions and dirty sour cream, or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported goods. We're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to 6, Wednesdays 9 to 5, and Saturdays 8 to 5. Follow us on Facebook to learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street in Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery and Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love. For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hi, this is Gary Smith. Join me for Do You Remember, Tuesday through Friday mornings at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
All right, it's Coffee and here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. I'm Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards. Christian Velasquez from Navigant Credit Union is here. We're also being joined by Gary Lawrence, former publisher of the Call newspaper. Thanks for joining us, Gary.
The only guy on the panel this morning that doesn't have an accent, Joe.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. Say hi, Gary.
Hello, how y'all doing?
All right, there's the yawn. All
I
right.
hope the camera thing I'm looking at is a wide-angle lens. 'Cause I'm a pretty big guy.
We plenty of room. Plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
We're going to talk to Gary in just a second, but Christian, time for your first message from Navigant Credit Union, please.
Yes. So, and speaking with the younger generation that we were just talking about, we have a special account called the Embark account, targeted for those younger generation between 13 and 22-year-olds. No minimum daily balance, no monthly service charge, and no insufficient funds fees on the account. A completely free account.
Nice, and parents can put the limits on how much the kids can spend per day.
That's the idea, right? Because sometimes
That's
you
right.
can go into not the case. Something simple where you can kind of get used to what's going on, right? Could be the first account that you've ever had. So enjoy it without having the fees or the pressure of having to kind of balance everything right to the cent.
Perfect. All right. So, Gary, you were publisher for the Call newspaper for what years?
I believe it was 2002, 2003,
2004, 2005.
somewhere in there.
Toward the beginning of the century, Joe.
All right. And did you do any work for the Call before becoming publisher?
Not for the Call. I was. I've been in the newspaper business
How long for that?
a long time before that.
Okay.
And, actually, when I retired about 5 years ago, I had a total number of 42 years that I was in the newspaper business.
Which papers did you work for?
Oh my gosh!
Name a few.
I started at Today newspaper in Cocoa, Florida. Went to Lakeland, Florida for the
Coco's
Ledger.
an interesting community to be in.
Beg pardon?
Cocoa is an interesting community to be in.
It is. It is.
It's
Is
very
that near where your mom is? Yeah, she's in
well.
Florida
Not
somewhere.
yeah. She's she's in Titusville.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it's a very interesting community in as much as ever since the government people came in, and NASA and the rest of that sort of thing like that, it's been really 3 different communities.
Yeah.
And if you're talking mass media there, you've got an awful lot of different points of view to address.
You do now, particularly when I started. Today newspaper in Cocoa was kind of the brainchild of Al Newharth, who was
see.
Gannett, and the Orlando Sentinel, in terms of print media, was the only newspaper around, and Today was able to capture that market pretty quickly. And but this is a long time ago. My dad worked originally from Alabama, and my dad worked for NASA, and he went down there for a temporary duty during the Skylab program. And actually, my middle son was born in Titusville, Florida.
No kidding.
Yeah, and we lived right there on the Washington Arms. It was a place they had actually put sand in to build a foundation for a condo that stuck out into the Indian River. Just go out on the wharf and watch the missiles shoot off and stuff.
It's
like
Indian for you folks here in northern Rhode Island. The Indian River, yeah.
that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So after Florida, where did you go after Florida?
Well, I went to. I was at Cocoa.
Yeah.
Was my first newspaper job.
Okay.
And I was in the advertising department, and I called on car dealers and real estate and places like that. And then I went to Lakeland, Florida, as a what we used to call mid-level management position. I was only there for about a year because the guy who hired me to come there went to Clearwater, Florida, and so I went to Clearwater for 4 years in a management capacity. And then from there went to Memphis, Tennessee. That was the largest paper I worked at, Commercial Appeal in Memphis. It was about 200.
Another interesting community.
Yeah. I've been in a lot of interesting communities. Went to Sacramento, California, as a matter of fact, after that.
All right. Which paper was that?
The Sacramento
Is that the
Bee.
Bee?
B?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, big paper.
Yeah.
That's nationally known.
Yeah, I was there for about 3 years, and that's where Lindsay, our daughter, was born, and she's the one we're taking this nostalgia tour for this time out. But
And you took her to Rhode Island and not California?
beg pardon?
You took her to Rhode
Well-
Island and not California?
left
get there.
left Sacramento, California, went to Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, goody.
All
Was
right.
there for 6 years. She was like 2 at that time.
Sure, yeah.
And then from Hollywood came to Newport, Rhode Island.
Yeah,
I was over there for 6 years at that. It was a family-owned paper.
that's
the
right.
Daily News?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And
It's a very
that's
good
when
paper down there.
the Sherman family owned it at that point in time. And then left, I was there for 6 years, left there and went to Middle Tennessee, to Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
We know where Murfreesboro is.
And was there for 6 or 7 years. That was my first group job where I actually worked for the company that owned Murfreesboro, but we also owned a dozen other papers. And I ended up being the vice president for the California papers and the Kansas papers. So even though I lived in Murfreesboro, I flew a lot.
I guess.
And then after that is when I came to Woonsocket.
From Tennessee to Woonsocket.
All right.
Yeah. And at that time, it was owned by the Journal Register Company.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
And then when I left there, a fellow that I had crossed paths with a couple of times, we ended up with a company out of Chicago, Charlotte, North Carolina, and they had bought a dozen or so community newspapers in the South. So that's why I left Woonsocket, was to go back to the South, and where my family was and things. And so that was the culmination of my last, I think, about 8 or 10 years in the business. We started with some paper, about a dozen papers in North Carolina, and then we built it up. By the time we sold it, we had about 100 newspapers.
I see.
And they were dailies and
So
weeklies.
you built a chain.
Yeah. We bought some chains and
Yeah,
molded
sure. Well,
them
that's
into
how
our
it's done.
chains. Yeah. That's when the drive started to buy in what we call clusters. We'd have one printing facility, but it would print for 6 or 8 papers that were within
Right.
20 or 30 miles, which was consolidation, which cost people jobs. Because the business at that time started
Well, yeah.
kind of taking a downturn. But that's my newspaper career,
When you
42
were-
years and 5 minutes.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
When you were back in your advertising days, did you call on financial institutions too?
Ultimately, I did. My first job was in the classified section in Cocoa, and that was restricted to real estate and automobile dealers. And then my next position, you became what was called at that time retail, and that involved some financial institutions and banks and things of that nature. And so it was quite a experience. And then in Memphis, I actually moved over to the circulation department, which is really
Oh, what an exciting department to be in. In
well,
a
it became the
newspaper.
foundation of my general management career because
It rounded out all of your
I had
experiences.
advertising, circulation, and that kind of thing. And I occasionally, but when I got to be a publisher, I would occasionally write an editorial opinion and things of that nature. So it was kind of the rounding out of all the department elements of it.
Have
So-
you been by the Call building on Main Street yet?
I have.
There's great renovations going on.
Yeah.
They managed to sell it to a developer.
Okay.
They'll have a small portion of it that they'll rent back.
Okay.
But there's going to be some great investment there, and hopefully more businesses there in that building. Before you arrived, years and years ago, the Call building, or that they called the Buell building at the time, was, even when the family owned it, the newspaper interests grew so much they ended up taking it over. But that originally was, the newspaper was on the second, third, and fourth floors upstairs, and the bottom floor was mercantile.
Right. Oh, really?
Eventually, so you know that when by the time you got there, actually by the time the 70s came along, the mercantile was forced out by the newspaper.
Right,
And
okay.
they just used the entire building. But originally, they found it quite profitable to do mercantile on the first floor and then have the newspaper up there with the executive offices on the fourth, and Call Picks was up there on the fourth,
I got you.
and editorial was on the second, and like that. So now it's going to be back to more of that.
Okay.
Because things have shrunken for newspapers these days, and you probably know that better than the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's,
I look at it as just all part of the great evolution of
Oh, yeah.
society.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what I
take
tell
a look,
people.
Take a look at radio stations, right?
Yeah.
Now, we used to have 30 people here. We only have 20 now. So it happens. There's not much you can do about it. Yeah.
I tell people that once upon a time there no doubt was an industry that made buggy whips.
Yes, there were.
but it no longer does because evolution took its toll on it. But
And the
I
people
got
that
in
made
at a
it-
great time and got out at a great
People
time.
have made horse-drawn carriages, moved into aviation.
Right, right.
So, you just move into something else. In 1998, we started the internet broadcasting here, and I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I make no secret of this. There are some months in this business that we make more money doing television, radio, and internet than we do in over-the-air broadcasting.
Right, right.
Because of the expenses of over-the-air broadcasting compared to the internet.
Well, that's the way it was in newspaper business. It's obviously not cheap to buy paper, print it, have it delivered,
Right.
things of that nature. So when the internet came along, it was quite a transition, and I think the thing that got a lot of people hung in the transition was the speed of the transition.
Right.
I mean, it's like it was, things were going great up to this point in time, and then almost immediately you can market. Everything just started going, and that's when these moves to cluster and save on production costs
Sure.
and all were done.
When you worked at the call, did you live in the city?
I did.
Oh, yeah?
I lived
What
over
street?
on Priscilla Avenue.
Yeah. Have you driven by the old where you
I
live?
haven't yet.
Okay.
We haven't done that yet. In fact, the
That
correct
that neighborhood hasn't changed a whole lot.
the correct answer to your question is I drove by the call about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I came through town in a hurry.
Okay.
I just landed at the airport, rented a car, ran over there, and went back to the airport.
Okay.
Went somewhere else. But so I haven't been by on this trip, and so we haven't. Yesterday we started Monday, and we went to pick them up, and my wife was from Connecticut. And so we came back from the airport. We picked them up in Hartford, and so we came back from the airport and visited places that were nostalgic to my wife. And then yesterday we went to Newport and Tiverton, and Woonsocket
Did you see the new casino down there in Tiverton?
the what?
The new
Casino.
casino.
Oh yes. In fact, my daughter.
Things
who-
have changed in that neighborhood some, huh?
Nothing would do for my daughter except that we go by there. She said, "I've got to at least pull a lever on a slot machine."
Oh, really?
In Tiverton, Rhode Island.
Oh.
So that's where she kind of grew up. That was her. When we moved to Tiverton, she was, I want to say, 5, 6 maybe, and then when we left, she was 11. Now her daughter, who is 11, is now getting to see some of the places that she saw when she was 11. So it's been fun so far. But the Woonsocket Day, originally we had it set to do Thursday, but we may shift it today. But we have to go to the Plymouth and show all that, and then
See the
we're
Rock. Yeah.
going to the Red Sox game on Friday night.
Oh,
I'm
good for
excited
you.
about that. So
Excellent.
we
When you
try to cover all the bases.
I had a question just slipped my mind. The Tiverton Casino. You like the placement of it, about 5 feet from Massachusetts?
We actually, I didn't go in.
right.
I stayed in the car because two of the grandchildren are minors.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
stayed,
so they
I
can't
stayed
walk
in the
in.
car with them, and my daughter and her husband and my wife went into the casino. They stayed, I'm going to say probably 20 or 30 minutes, and
They win?
yeah, I think they walked out with $20 more than
well,
walked in.
all right,
So
then.
that's a winner.
Hey, souvenir.
Yeah.
That'll say,
That's
hey, we
great.
didn't come back here. All right, we're going to take another break here on the Coffee and program, so we're going to give it back over to Christian for a second message from Navigate Credit Union. Christian?
Yeah, and the only second message I have is if you ever want to stop by, speak to myself or any of our staff at 1280 Park Ave, feel free to do so. We're there Monday through Friday, Thursdays until 5, Fridays until 6, and we are open Saturdays. So please come stop by.
Or stop by the Senior Resource Fair this coming Saturday from 9 to 12. Christian will be there.
I will be there 9 to 12 with Amanda, representing Navigant Credit Union.
All right, we look forward to having you there and giving out great information and maybe a little candy.
That's right. Yes, we have a lot of goodies to give out.
To the customers that stop by, free admission to the Senior Resource Fair. More Coffee Hands coming your way. Please stay tuned.
When it comes to emergency service for plumbing and heating, you can't beat C.J. Nemus, 37 Corey Street in Woonsocket. C.J. Nemus offers over 15 years of experience and is licensed in both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. C.J. Nemus offers complete heating system service, plumbing, water heaters, plus drain and sewer cleaning. Remember that senior citizens receive a 10% discount. So give Charlie a call today at CJ Nemus, 769-4776. They're registered with the Better Business Bureau. They're a master plumber with quality service. It's the only way and the best way. With CJ Nemus, call today, 769-4776 for CJ Nemus.
It's time for the annual Breakfast with the Saints at the St. Anne Arts and Cultural Center. Enjoy a breakfast buffet under the center's magnificently frescoed ceiling. The breakfast will be held on Sunday, April 30th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tickets are $20 in advance or $25 at the door. Tickets are available at Belo's Flowers, Creative Impressions, The Honey Shop, Timeless Antiques, Vos True Value Hardware, or visit the St. Anne Arts and Cultural Center website.
All right, it's Coffee Ann here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning. Joe Callahan here with Christian Velasquez, branch manager for Navigant Credit Union here at Park Square in Woonsocket. Dave
Can he
Richards is
play
here.
baseball? I mean, I didn't ask
Well,
you.
maybe he can.
Christian, can you also play baseball?
Not particularly well. I was more of a football guy.
Ah,
all right, then.
okay.
Gary Lawrence, former publisher of the Calls here. He's here from 2002 to 2005. He's on a, what would you call it? A tour.
We call it a nostalgia tour.
Nostalgia tour. There you
Nostalgia
go.
tour.
Now,
And-
you said you've already been down to Newport because you worked down there as well.
Right.
In your estimation, how much has Newport changed
Oh my
since
goodness!
the last time you were there?
Like everything else, is really changed a lot. There
Just
was,
getting on and off the island is a big adventure now.
Exactly. Yeah, we started to come across the Pale Bridge, and
Yeah.
I went the way I knew to go, and that was
Nope.
not the way to go.
That's not the way to go anymore.
So-
Is it still the same
but
amount of money you remembered across the bridge?
Oh, no.
What do you mean it's $5?
No, is it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what the cost is.
There was a thing. I guess they take the picture of your tag
Yeah,
and
yeah,
send
you'll-
you a bill.
you'll
So
get
I
it.
don't know
Yeah,
how
they
much
do,
it was.
yeah.
Oh, well, you'd be shocked then when it.
I'm sure they add some administrative costs to it too, so that works out there.
Oh, sure. There's a convenience fee and all that. But the mansions are still there.
Yeah,
So, okay.
mansions are still there. The International Tennis Hall of Fame.
Still there,
My
yeah.
daughter had some good memories there from some of the things that happened, and a lot of it had to do with where she was and what happened. And we went out to the Ocean Point, the Breakers
Yep.
area out there, and
You notice the cliff
just-
walk is half in the bay?
I'm sorry.
Half
cliff
of
walk.
the cliff walk is in the bay.
Keeps
Oh,
falling
really?
into the
That
ocean.
happened during a storm.
Oh my!
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They want to fix it up, but it's
Money.
Yeah, it's a big,
Wow.
lengthy, expensive thing.
But like everything, yeah, it's changed considerably. The newspaper building still sits up on the hill behind the High Life Ronton, and it still has the logo there, but it's not there anymore.
It's not highlight anymore
It's
either.
moved into a strip center because all they have is editorial people and salespeople. They don't do any printing,
Right.
that kind of thing anymore.
Dave,
So,
what does that highlight building become? It's not obviously it's not highlight.
A very
anymore.
big building that's not doing highlight.
nothing-
I honestly
I,
don't know.
I forget something's
I
there.
honestly
I can't
don't
remember.
know what's
Kristen,
there.
you know?
I do not.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Something's there.
we had heard at one time that it was going to be a casino, but there was
They wanted
Oh,
to do that.
yeah, they
and,
wanted to, yeah.
Oh,
And the
God.
residents of Newport
yeah,
said
something about they
absolutely
didn't
not.
want table games. They were
Yeah.
okay with the slot machines.
Yeah,
But they
but
didn't want
not.
the table games, which I'm not quite
That's
sure
bizarre.
I understand the distinction. I mean, you know,
Well, there is a big distinction. When
Is there?
Yes, when the house is represented by a human being, it's one image of a game.
Right.
When the house is represented by a machine, it's another thing.
okay,
And so people trust the machines more than they trust the human beings.
I got you.
And so they didn't want the table games because the house is represented by a human.
No, so they were afraid of cards up the sleeve and
Heaven
dice
knows.
and things of that.
Heaven knows.
Okay, I got
But, I
it.
mean, what can you say about fear? Sometimes it's irrational.
I understand that, but like I tell everybody, not only have things changed, I'm going through what I call my years, which is older, fatter, balder, wider, and all that. My wife doesn't quite understand why that doesn't extend to wiser, but that's the
Usually
way.
that goes in the other direction
I'm
too.
slower, all those things that go with it, but and grayer.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
beard is. When I
That's
was here
true.
before, it was black. It had a little spot
Yes,
of gray.
that's
but
true. That's true.
Now
That's
it's
true.
gray
yeah.
all over. So.
When you drive around the cities, the streets of here in Woonsocket, does it all come back to you rather quickly?
yeah, coming through
here's
here,
Hamlet Ave, or
yeah,
here's Clinton, here's
yeah.
Social Street. I know where everything is.
Yeah, behind the newspaper building, there was a Hava Java. My daughter worked there one
Okay.
summer, and so that's a reminiscent.
It's owned by a
thing.
different company, a different group of people now, but they
Right.
still have the
It was the
coffee shop.
Baldelli's.
That's right. They got
when
it
they
started,
were-
and then they sold it off.
Yeah.
Baldelli still has his
The pawn shop.
pawn shop
That's
on
the-
the
Okay.
side and to the rear.
And then not too far from there was where the ice rink was in the winter.
Yeah, they just don't do that anymore.
do that
Unfortunately,
anymore?
it got to be really expensive to keep it, to maintain it.
Okay.
The
And
slab is still there, but they don't do the ice part.
And the place where there was one year when Dave asked me to be I guess a station chief at Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And odd part about that was the group that was playing there was Donna and the Buffalo. I don't know if you know that group, but they were from upstate New York. And about 2 years later, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and walked into a pub down there, and there was Donna and the Buffalo playing down there.
I'll be a son of a gun. Small world story.
Did they remember you?
No.
No. All right.
I wasn't that memorable, I don't think. Because as many clubs as they played, I guess I was just another face in the crowd. But that's one of the things that I recall vividly about Woonsocket. And of course, living in Priscilla, there was a big pond back there, and or pond, I guess is what we call them in down south.
And there was the big fight about the Walmart superstore.
Yeah.
Oh, that went on when you were here?
Right after I left, I think, or it was about.
It was brewing while
Yeah,
he was
brewing.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, but it came to a head afterwards when everybody left that section of town.
Yeah.
But the Baldelli administration was lucky enough to bring in and reuse the building that Walmart was in for a nice Ocean State job lot, the second one in the city. Not an awful lot of communities have two Ocean State job lots.
Wow.
In the Tractor Supply Store.
And they're right, Tractor Supply Store. So
Okay.
to her credit, she was able to get somebody in there.
Okay.
Lowe's is still laying fallow. It's just such a huge place. What are you going to use it for? There was discussion about indoor raising of shellfish there. Like a shrimp farm
Yeah.
or oyster
Oh,
farm
okay.
or something indoors.
Okay.
But so far, that hasn't materialized.
Okay. We have catfish farms in the south.
There you go.
I've had catfish. Not a big fan.
No,
No, not really.
what's wrong with them? They're like pout.
I don't know.
They're like
why.
horn pout up here.
I've had it once.
Of course,
I said,
horn pout
okay.
a little larger.
You haven't had
usually.
the southern version.
Well, I was in Florida.
Oh,
so
were you?
Was
Well,
that considered southern?
I've had catfish in Florida and didn't care for it.
Oh, well, see, there you go.
In the south, they grow them in ponds. I mean,
Yeah.
and they actually cultivate them by
They do.
particular feeding and stuff. So,
Well, this was at Disney World that
But
I had the catfish.
Oh,
and
okay.
it came with little catfish, little beef, little chicken. It was a smorgasbord. And
yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm not too crazy about the catfish.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I guess it is a lot how it's prepared, right?
Yeah. Is there anything in Woonsocket that you're surprised is not there anymore in your travels around the city?
Gosh.
Or where did this go, kind of thing?
No, I haven't encountered that yet. I'm sure I will.
One thing you'll be happy to know, last time I was at the Stadium Theater as a guest, in the men's room, that lovely clock you donated was still
Oh,
there on the table
really?
as you walked into the men's
Oh,
room.
great. Well, it's good to be remembered for something like
Yes,
that.
you
way.
are.
You're probably the only person that remembers that. But
Well, I don't know. I can't say that, but I know that I remember it very well.
what
and
was the name of
they
the band that used to do the local band that used to do the thing in February at Valentine's Day?
Oh,
thing
Kings
at the
Row.
Yeah,
Had to
yeah.
break up. Wayne Lima
passed
died
away.
unexpectedly and very, very, very quickly. And after that, because he was a big driving force in the band.
Yeah.
Member of the band,
Yeah.
of course, too. He was the marketing agent and the rest of that. And
Right.
the rest of the guys, of course, they'd all gotten a little long in the tooth and a little gray in the
Yeah.
hair. So they all just dispersed after that.
Oh, well, that
So,
would-
yeah, and it was very, very tragic. We still play their songs here on the radio station.
It was an
as
institution.
local artists.
They
Yeah,
were
Kings
here.
Row.
Yeah. I think he had a bowling retail outlet somewhere in Pawtucket.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I do remember that as well.
Because when I left here, I stopped by and chatted with him for a little bit. Right, one of the last things I
Yeah.
did. We had
he didn't suffer. He was gone. Bang.
we had him in the parking lot across from the call building for
Mm-hmm.
an event that we did one time. I became very fond
Yeah.
of him and the rest of them. So it was sudden, you say?
Very sudden.
Wow.
Autumn Fest is still an event in the city. It'll be the 45th year of Autumn Fest this year.
Really?
Yeah.
At World War II Park. Yeah.
Yep. We had to stop.
The biggest planned event
yeah.
in the city any year.
We couldn't do anything in 2020
Oh.
because of COVID, but the next year
Okay.
afterwards started right up again.
Okay.
All right, let's go. So it's still the big draw of
Okay.
over 100,000 people still.
Still in
coming.
2020, they ended up talk about the spirit of Autumn Fest. They ended up putting together a parade of cars, of
Steering
members
committee
of the
cars.
steering committee and friends and things like that,
Yeah.
which roamed the city's streets, honking and waving,
Waving, yeah.
and stuff.
Best we could do.
Best you could do, but it was great spirit.
Well, I think I was about to say, though, you mentioned parade. I remember another thing you set up for me one time was I rode the fire truck during the Columbus Day parade.
That is the Autumn Fest parade on Columbus Day
Okay,
weekend.
all right, okay.
Yep, that
That's
is
the
the Autumn
same
Fest
parade.
parade.
Then. Okay.
And that's
All right.
because you were King Jace. You were the king of the Mardi Gras. And you get a chance to ride in the parade after you're done, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You remember being King Jason?
No, I don't
No?
think. I
You
I
put on
think I
the-
got votes, but I don't
You
think
put
I
on
was the king.
you put on the
was it?
you put on the costume.
No,
Wow, he
I
did.
don't remember that.
No?
No.
No.
All right,
I-
well, maybe my memory's faulty.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion at one point in time of that I had been nominated or something like that, but I don't remember being the king. I'm sure I would remember that.
All right, okay.
think
But I
so,
did
yeah.
ride on the back of the fire truck, and I think you were on the fire truck with me, but I.
No, I usually
No?
broadcast the parade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of the Coffee and program, and we
And
can
now,
go on
of course,
for a
we
while.
have that
so-
big truck out there you never saw. We use that for broadcasting television now.
Gary, thanks for coming by
Well,
again.
thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. I don't think Dave knew when he said come back to see me sometime that I would actually
You do it.
that.
Oh, sure. Well, we're delighted. Now, where's the
stop by
family?
anytime.
Where's the family, by the way? Are they watching at the hotel room? do you think?
They're at the Airbnb. Yeah.
Well, then that's great. And it seems to me that not only can they be watching now, but they can also catch it later if they missed any portion of the program. It'll be up in about 10 minutes or so after rendering.
Great.
To
Right on our website.
watch it again on our website, wonsocketRadio.com.
Great.
All right. Thanks to Melissa Murray, who was here earlier. Dave, thanks for coming in as well.
What a pleasure today.
And Christian
And sitting next to Christian.
Velasquez, branch manager of Park Square Credit Union. If you can't see him this week, Saturday he'll be at our Senior Resource Fair.
That's right.
Look forward to seeing you there, 9 to
Appreciate it.
noon this Saturday at the Elks Hall. Have a great day, everyone, and stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do you remember? It's coming up at 9:30 on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket